guys, Prowl1701 here, and today we're going to be talking about Time Flight, the legendary, infamous Time Flight. Now, I have only seen Time Flight once before, and I liked it. I thought it was underrated. I mean, it had its issues, but I always thought it was better than its reputation. And I watched it back when the Season 19 box set first came out. So it's been a while. I figured, let's do a rewatch. Let's have a look. Is the internet right? Did I have it wrong? Because I'm always intrigued to find out what I'll think of a story the second time I watch it. And I'm going to be honest, I still like Time Flight. I don't get it. It's not perfect, and it's not essential watching. The story is decent enough. It's fine. It's not bad. The execution, for the most part, works. The special effects, for the most part, are fine. They're classic Doctor Who effects. Yeah, there's a few rough spots, like the CSO done when the Doctor realizes the Heathrow Airport's an illusion and he's telling him to concentrate. Yeah, that's bad. That's like Underworld CSO bad. I remember when it first shifts from being filmed at Heathrow to CSO, I'm like, oh, that's CSO. Very obviously CSO. Yeah, the little creatures that materialize that are all gray are extremely boring looking and uninteresting. The effect that appears above Nyssa sometimes when she's kind of in that suspended animation is fine. The effect when the Doctor makes the little two-headed creature disappear when it just zips out of existence is a pretty good effect for classic Doctor Who. There's a couple other times where I thought the effects were nice. I'm looking at the effect going, that's not bad. That looks nice. I had forgotten this story had location footage. For some reason, I thought it was completely studio bound. But some of the stuff filmed at Heathrow Airport, or what I'm assuming is Heathrow Airport, somewhere at an airport it looks like. Looks good. I'm guessing that is, of course, surviving film elements. Looks good. Looks nice. Studio sets are fine. I mean, the outside of the past looks like a set from the 60s, with, of course, the painted background with the set, which is a little more out of place in the 80s and in color. You know, it works better in the 60s when it's the 60s, too. It's in black and white. That kind of lends itself more to the matte finished backgrounds more, although they use those in the Cushing movies and they look good. So I obviously realized, you know, it's a painting background, but it was fine. It didn't really bother me. My mind doesn't really have problems accepting that. I watched 60 Star Trek. I'm able to roll with a lot of that stuff. I thought Peter Davison was putting in a good performance. I liked his performance. He was very energetic in places. Like, he was really going in places. I really liked what he was doing. Nyssa and Tegan were good. It was interesting to get the little cameo with Adric. Well, Adric, that had to be a shock for people coming right after Earthshock. That was actually interesting. And then the little reference to the Melkor, because of course that would be something that would make Nyssa upset. It's nice they at least touch on that a little when they're having some trauma for what the Master did to her dad. Something. We never really got much of that. So it's nice to see something. I like the guy kind of playing the professor. He's a little thick, honestly. But the effect when he dies and disintegrates is cool. I like the fact we see him later, like when he shows up in the Tardis in episode 4, and then he just kind of disappears again. I'd love for the Doctor to run into him again. I would just love for the Doctor to run into him. The fact that maybe in some form he still exists and is traveling the cosmos. I really like that. I liked the flight crew, especially the three main guys, especially the kind of leader one, the older one, the kind of captain. The actor playing him is really good. How he's a little skeptical at first, but very quickly, once he realizes the Doctor kind of knows what he's talking about, he's like, okay, we need the Doctor. We need to listen to the Doctor. The Doctor knows what's up. Because you don't run into that enough in Doctor Who when somebody's smart enough to go, okay, this Doctor guy seems to have a handle on stuff here better than anybody else. Let's listen to him. One of the reasons I love the Brigadier in the Web of Fear, he's pretty accepting of what is going on and what the Doctor is saying. I love that. So I really like the kind of flight captain. But the other two guys are good too. The one that is trying to hold on to the image of the rope so he doesn't get caught in the spell. And then the other one with the mustache. I liked all three of them. I thought they did fine. The rough spot of the episode is the Khalid disguise. It doesn't need to be there. The only reason it's there is at the halfway point of the story so we can get the, it's actually me, Master, that we get so much in the Davison era with the Master. It was actually really me all along. That's the only reason it's there. Because from a narrative standpoint, it makes no sense for it to be there. That and the Khalid character, I feel like I should be offended on behalf of someone. I'm not quite sure who or exactly why, but I feel like I'm supposed to be offended on behalf of someone. This story would be, I think, a lot better in people's minds if they had just done it from the master straight through, or if they'd at least picked a more pragmatic disguise, because it just feels so unnecessary to have Khalid in there. And it's weird, because I didn't think he was Khalid for half the story. I was expecting the reveal to be the end of part 1. I really didn't realize it was the end of part 2. Although, by the time I finished it, I'm like, wow, was the Master really only the Master the last half of the story? Because it feels like he's in this story a lot as the Master. Was it really only the last half? That's weird. The Khalid stuff is rough, I'll admit. That's got to be the hardest part of this to watch. Because I'm not... See, most of the time when Doctor Who does like a character in brownface or yellowface, the character is still written responsibly and with care, and the character has nuance. You see this with Chang and the Talons of Wing Chiang. He's still written with good character development. The actor is still performing the role. It never feels like it's mocking Asian Oriental people. It feels like it's, you know, just the way television was made, casting a white person in that role. Same thing with the Crusade, with the casting of the ruler over in, is it Egypt, I believe they're in? Him and his brother. Even though it's someone in brownface, the character is written and performed so well. He's not just done in this two-dimensional mustache-twirling fashion. He's not even really written as a villain. He's just written as one of the two rulers that have opposing views, where they're both written, him and Richard are written as honorable rulers who neither one of them want that war. So there's a lot of care given to the character by the actor and by the writer. Whereas here it feels more like almost dipping into that parody category, which I can easily see people deeming offensive. Like even I almost feel like I should be offended on behalf of someone. That is a little hard to watch. But everything else about the story is fine. I think the sets are all right. The realization of the entity the Doctor is facing with the creatures that merged into one consciousness is interesting. How the Doctor stops the Master at the end seems a little more complicated than it needs to be, I'll be honest. Although I do love the fact he uses the fact he's a time traveler to arrive before the Master can, right at the same coordinates. But it's a little too convoluted there at the end. And then the ending with Tegan being left behind seems just a rough ending. Like, oh, that's it for the whole season? What's going to happen with Tegan? You don't know until Arc of Infinity. That also seems a little rough. But I still think it's a fine C-tier story. I mean, I've already filmed a lot of me ranking. I've got a video series coming where I'm ranking all of classic Doctor Who. And I've already filmed the part that covers Time Flight. But if I was to be redoing that list, I think Time Flight would be a few places higher than where it is on that list, because it's fine for the most part. Little problems, little wonky in places, but overall fine. Definitely better than its reputation. Far better than Warriors of the Deeper Kingdom, easily. So yeah, it's fine. Give it another watch with an open mind sometime. So Time Flight, I want to know what you think of it and how long it's been since you've watched it. Comment down below and let me know. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon. If you would like to support me on that, there is a link to that down in the description below. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Colin Coney and Finn Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. It's much appreciated. And I also want to give a shout out to Craig. Craig joined the Patreon recently at the $5 tier. Craig, I've seen him down in the comments several times. I believe he's been watching the channel for a while. He pops down in the comments sometimes and leaves some comments. I really appreciate Craig joining. Thank you very much, Craig. That means a lot. I do hope you enjoy the Patreon content as well. I want to also point out that I also have links to the Amazon wish list down below and Amazon's links to the Amazon UK wish list down below. Those are separate things, which I've updated recently. My P.O. box is down there if anybody wants to send anything directly. And most importantly, thank you for watching.